received some of the sector gaps that we received in past, and then we will open the floor for mentoring from the industry experts. You all know, for medical device sector, there's a mandate to Department of Pharmaceutical, and through their flagship initiatives, Department of Pharmaceutical is ensuring that there is a move, there is a motivation, there is a drive for industry and academia to achieve the vision of 2030 as $50 billion industry. Scheme of human resource development is very important as it is focused on developing the capabilities of human resource in India, which would be required both for research, regulatory, as well as the manufacturing quality part. The scheme intends to cover approximately 4,000 to 5,400 learners for next 3 years. There are components A and B which are open. The focus of the scheme is going to be on research and development, component manufacturing, final product manufacturing, assembling, testing. Sometimes it will also focus on the maintenance technicians and clinical establishments, which are non-paramedic. But for today's webinar, this is not the focus. Coming on the scheme components, component A, which talks about MSc, MTech, PG diploma programs. And component B will be talking about the upskilling programs for the existing industrial workforce, as well as the student training programs for polytechnic, ITI students, engineering students who can further be developed for the purpose of manufacturing and other testing aspects. As we talk about the scheme A, very clearly, I will not come up later, but yeah, it is MSc program. There is a non-recurring, recurring. So there is a support system which is available for infrastructure development. And all the programs is important to note, all the institutions that all the programs will be as per NEP 2020 and NHEQF. If any program which has been curated in past and which doesn't comply to NHQF, that program will not be considered for the funding. Very important part, and I believe I would request even the industry experts to note this part, that for a PG program, the scheme mandates these first 2 modules as must to be included as the subject in the program. One is regulatory and quality compliance in medical devices, and second is foundation and human biology for medical devices. These 2 are must to be there. And then based on the program focus, out of the below 6 subjects, that means mathematical modeling in medical device perspective, materials in biomedical device / engineering, basics in biosensors and bioelectronics, basics in design aspects of medical devices, IoT and machine learning in medical devices, cell and molecular biology and bioinformatics in medical device perspective. Now, these 6 subjects are the ones which are given as must. At least 4 of them would appear in your curriculum that you will be making for the PG program. All the institutions to note it, as well as I would request all the industry experts also to note and tell us if there are more in perspective of the segment that we are talking today. There is a subjective list of the focus area programs also, which probably we will again come back. And today, industry experts will guide that whether these are enough or there is anything that else we really need to do when we're talking about PG programs. For the component B programs, it will be short-term programs, maybe diploma or even a certificate program. Could be for ITI students, could be for D Pharma students, could be for BSc students, could be for BTech students, where we would develop them as technicians for future. And it could also include the institute training for R&D staff, regulatory staff, and even other technician staff in the industrial establishments. Focus areas remain design, R&D, regulatory, manufacturing, quality testing, engineering and maintenance, and industry should also tell us today if there are more areas that should be included in the focus. These are the few programs I thought should be known to all of you when it comes to component B. So in the Stents, there are programs which are available. There are programs in electrical safety testing available. EMI, EMC testing, the program is available. Automation maintenance technician, the program is right available. Even at the helper level, the programs are available. Cold chain sustainability, there are programs which are available currently as a certificate programs. Regulatory affair and IP, the programs are rightly available. In the clinical research, there are 3 programs which are available. And in the quality assurance from equipment validation, process validation, internal audits, QMS, stability studies, all these programs are rightly available. Today's webinar, the current webinar, today there are 2 webinars, but the webinar is focused on implants. The implants that includes stents, orthopedics implant, as well as dental implant. And in case a institution is developing a program which focuses on implants, they should probably be able to take away a lot of input from the industry out of this workshop. The focus area for the workshop is that it will focus on the value chain of research and development, component manufacturing, and final product assembly. It can also look into the maintenance repair, but I believe in the implants, the maintenance repair part certainly would not appear. But it will certainly not cover the user training aspects of the stunt. So industry to note that part. We in the past, as a council, as a sector skill council in the Ministry of Skill Development for medical device sector, have done some survey with industries on the skill gap. Some of the surveys related to research are just listed here, which talks about what are the major skill gap areas. And why I'm showing it, I do not want to be a kind of preacher over here, because we have industry captains right here who will talk. But it is just a precursor that I wanted to set up an expectation, whether these are the ones or these are something else when we're talking about implants in perspective that we should focus when we are talking about the PG programs. So innovation, design thinking, risk assessment, regulatory, artificial intelligence, quality by design, device design engineering, prototyping, and all these are in the research. When we talk in the quality, understanding of various aspects of the manufacturing, report writing, analysis interpretation, product testing, testing instrument handling, calibration, automation, biomaterials and biomedical sciences. When it comes to the manufacturing, it has the machine handling, calibration, automation, mathematical modeling, documentation, data handling, and various aspects of the manufacturing. Regulatory affair, very clearly the understanding of various QMS, filing, change management, and handling the market complaints. This is related to plant maintenance side. On the clean room aspect, job safety, plant maintenance through the automation and design thinking. Now, I would like the session to be open to the mentoring to the industry. And what we are looking at majorly is in the component A, and component B, probably, I do not have a slide, but for component A, I wanted to set up a context that can the current program from any institution be set as a benchmark? Is there any institution, that means industry can tell us that if there is any current program which are able to give the best output in terms of the students at the PG level. Second, should the program that we are right now working at the PG level should be the PG diploma, that's normally a 1-year diploma, or an MTech program. Third, for implants, what the modules mandatory we have given are okay, or there are more modules that we should make it mandatory. Fourth, when they are developing the program as a major, which occupation it should focus? Should it be the regulatory? Should it be the R&D? Should it be the design engineering? Should it be the manufacturing quality? Which occupation that you are looking at the PG level? And in the minor, what could be the overlapping occupations that they should focus on? Why I placed last two questions are because we certainly cannot make in 1 or 2 years a superhuman, with having all the skills together in total. So probably when we are developing programs, we may end up developing more programs, and then there will be a cohort of institutions that can decide that, okay, we will focus on point A, we will focus on point B, and we'll focus on point C. And then the industry would know that when they are talking about X, they can always, or A, they can all skill A, they can always go to these institutions. Skill B, these institutions should be able to come up, and skill C, these institutions should be able to come up. This is all that I have. From my side, I would request now industry to come forward. So we have, at least I'm able to see two industry stalwarts, Mr. Mayank Rohtagi from Healthium. Then I think we have Mr. Vikesh from Translumia. Please come forward. Richaji, you're from which organization?
I'm from Polymedicure.
Yeah, Polymedicure. So wonderful. So we have some of the industry experts. May I request
Sir, I
Mayank?
would request Ms. Richa to ladies first, as we say. Richa, you want to go first? Then we can pitch in all with it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So first of all, I think it's a wonderful session and an initiative, and which will definitely add some, not just some value, but a lot of value. I only have, I mean, since I'm just trying to understand everything, so I have just one question that, why are we focusing only on stents in cardiology? If I mean, cardiology as a segment, why only stent? Is there any specific criteria for that? Second, when we are talking about, when we are talking about progressive industry, we should be also discussing and creating something, where we are actually trying to have a setup or a course or a curriculum where we are focusing on innovative and path-breaking technologies. So that's, I have these two questions, not any suggestion as of now.
Right. So let me respond to Richard, to you first, and probably why I'm doing it this part, because as a project management organization, we have certain directional approach that we are taking up. So in that directional approach, the first part is why we are looking at stents. So let me respond, Richardji, that we are
Why
not
only stent?
Yeah. So we are not looking only stents. When we are talking about, so there are 8 segments, product segments in the industry that we are focusing on under HRD scheme. Okay. But when we look at the industry itself is so vast, and the skill requirement from every business segment, every product segment could be different. Okay. You certainly would agree that even in the implants, there are stents, there are ortho implants, there are dental implants. Right.
Right, right.
That is one part where we're talking about implants. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to establish a bridge between academic institutions as well as industry through this webinar, where every every person who is from a respective industry, from respective segment, they can come, they can declare their state, their demand, they can state their skill gap, their problem statements, which needs to come out very clearly. कि अगर मैं implants की बात करता हूं today, तो implants के अंदर पीजी डिप्लोमा प्रोग्राम के जो स्टूडेंट्स आएंगे, जो हाई एंड स्किल्स होंगी, वहां पर मुझे क्या स्किल सेट चाहिए होगा, व्हाट आई एक्सपेक्ट आउट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर ह्यूमन बीइंग हु इज कमिंग आउट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोग्राम आफ्टर 1 year और 2 year प्रोग्राम. अगर ये पीजी डिप्लोमा प्रोग्राम है तो 1 year का होगा. इफ इट इज एमएससी एंड एमटेक प्रोग्राम, this is going to be for 2 years. So what as an industry you are expecting out of it? That's number one.
That's what I'm saying, that I got it. I mean, you are focused.
And the second part is, when we are
yeah.
talking about innovation and path breaking, certainly we are looking at that. So you need to guide institutions that what are you looking at? So when you say innovation and path breaking product development, what do you mean? Can you probably have a deeper dialogue with these institutions and set the tone that what skill set this person should have? Okay, once you are looking at this person.
So I would just pitch in. I'll just try to answer a few of the points to the best of my potential. I think this scheme is very much required, and it's an important need of the hour, which is kind of aligning, because human resource plays a very critical role in terms of both in the R&D setup, or when we talk about in terms of manufacturing. And in order to align with the government's vision of Viksit Bharat and the $50 billion medical device market, which has the government has projected to achieve by 2030, uh, we all have to do scaling up of our current operations in order to achieve that target. For that, we need a human resource capital, uh, both from an R&D perspective and from a manufacturing perspective. On the mapping of the current programs, we'll have to do a mapping of the current programs which are offered by different institutions and look at what are the skill gaps which are required from an R&D perspective and a manufacturing perspective. I think from a manufacturing perspective, I think the undergraduate program working post undergraduates working in the manufacturing setup is, I think, most of the time the requirement. Primarily in an R&D setup, the basic qualification or kind of things which we look at is basic PhD scholar or a postgraduate student or candidate for looking at innovation. And for an innovation perspective, there are basic from an implant perspective. I think, as you understand, the medical device sector is a culmination of different streams, right? Be it metallurgy, instrumentation, biotechnology, biomedical engineering, right, and so on and so forth. So what from an implant perspective, primarily, there are certain skill sets which we kind of look at. One is from understanding of the material sciences from a biocompatibility perspective, right? Metallurgical skills, molding skills, additive manufacturing. Those are some of the basic skill sets which are required. And of course, to go with that, they should also have the understanding of the quality standards and ethical issues which are there, which go in terms of developing a particular product. They should have critical thinking and kind of problem solving, innovative problem solving skills, and kind of trying to kind of highlight certain skill sets which you mentioned are required from an R&D perspective for implant. Again, understanding of the regulatory ecosystem, not just stand regulatory norms, just not in India, but global regulatory norms. You are, be it US FDA, be it certain C, be it TPG from Australia. What are the regulatory norms which exist currently? Then understanding of again data analytical skills, right? That's another skill set which we require. So these would be certain, of course, and then engineering, right? Biomedical engineering. So these are certain top of the line items which I can recollect from an implant perspective. But understanding of materials, because most of the implants use a certain material which goes inside your body. Be it, when you talk about a knee implant or a shoulder implant, right? Be it titanium or be it certain other metal which is required. So understanding how that metal would work in a biomechanical setup, from a biocompatibility perspective. So that's a basic skill set or norm which is required for an implant. Be it from an R&D perspective or of course for a manufacturing, it's more like engineering or mechanical, because it's kind of an automation setup, right, where the manufacturing happens. So from a manufacturing perspective, it's more on mechanical and engineering sciences which we look at. Yeah, broadly, I think this would be certain initial points which I would kind of like to put.
So let me ask, on behalf of everyone in the academic, and probably even I would request academics also to come up with the question, because this is the time, this is your floor. You can always go and ask questions. We have Mr. Vikesh, we have Mayank, Risha, from the industry. So, Mayank and Richa, we heard both of you. And on the screen, I've tried to put up the current suggestive list of the areas that should have been covered. So I believe design and prototyping, advanced biomaterials, because uh, implants. Hello. Yes, I hope I was audible.
Yeah,
So what I was saying is,
Anindya, just request you to unmute yourself. I think you're.
okay, so sorry. So I just repeat myself. So what I was saying is that you have covered certain areas. So you discussed about design and prototyping of the medical device, specifically the implants in this perspective. Second, you spoke very high about importance of advanced biometric material, as well as understanding the material science, the metallurgy, because this is an implant we are talking about, and compatibility of the bio of that material, in that way. So another part, and the advanced biofabrication. I believe implants, the biofabrication will also come in the textile component at times when you talk about.
Not to that greater extent. For example, the sutures, which comes under the category of consumable and disposable, but you have bioabsorbable sutures which go inside your plant and kind of dissolve itself, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so there are those sort of products as well.
Okay. And then, tissue engineering in a biomedical device, will that cover into the implants, certainly?
Yes, they might. Yes, they might to an extent.
Yeah. And then biomechanics, I believe, plays a major role, specifically when we are talking about implants which are movable, both for ortho as well as the stents that we are talking about. Even the dental implants which are there, the mechanics, the biomechanics part becomes very important for them.
Great. So, Anshul, what we can do is just a suggestion based on the suggestive focus areas for each category, the 8 broad
Ji,
categories which you have highlighted, right?
ji.
Let's do one thing. Let's ask the industry that out of these areas suggestive list, which are very critical in designing that whole particular program or a course for from an both one is from an R&D perspective when we talk about the innovation, and the second is from the manufacturing perspective. So there are two different skill sets, right? Out of this list for different those 8 categories, what sort of basic skill set and high-end skill sets are required for addressing those gaps? I think if we do that sort of an approach, that would give us a lot of clarity. And then we can kind of, as a next step, do the mapping of the existing courses which are there. What are the gaps in terms of the skill sets required and what they are offering and how that can be bridged? I think that can be a good starting point. Just a suggestion.
I think we would do it. We will do it as a follow-up activity of this workshop. Mayank, because at times, there are very few instances where we have opportunity to engage, experts from the industry along with the academic experts, and that is why we wanted to have establish a platform on which the industrial experts and academic experts can talk to each other. Okay. So I believe what I am doing is probably is really not making much of the sense. My humble request to all the experts from the academia, if you have any questions or if you are developing some of the programs which are uh, they are focused on the implants, then please go ahead, shoot your questions to the industrialist, and they should be able to respond to your program. So, Mayank, another part which I still look for a question, probably you can respond and Richa can respond, is should it be a 1 year long program focused on certain area, which could be a PG diploma, okay, and and should it be a MTech program? Because what I'm saying is, you spoke that R&D and manufacturing, the quality and the manufacturing part. These are two segments industry are looking at the skill demand, the workforce demand in. Okay. And for both, there will be different kind of programs, different structure of the programs that might be required by industry. What do you respond on that? So Richa and Meg, both if you can respond on this. So whether PG diploma will work or MTech will work, and if both will work, PG diploma should focus on what and MTech should focus on what?
I
Richa,
think,
please go ahead.
yeah, I think, I mean, PG diploma would be better. Both, I mean, though both works, but PG diploma would be better because that will give an edge. In fact, I don't know, maybe, I mean, it will make sense or not, but I think there should be some short-term courses also wherein, people who want to pursue it, they don't want to get fully involved, but still they want to upgrade their skill set, maybe, that can be divided into advanced skill set or maybe at an entry level or specifically because at times there would be 8 things we might be focusing in the course but somebody they want to upgrade their skill set only in two, so there could be some short term courses also. I mean that's what I think. Maybe Mayank can would be in a better shape to comment on it.
No, I'm actually not an HR expert, Richa. I'm more of a government affairs market access guy and trying to just to fill
Same
in with
here.
your.
I am completely from the marketing perspective. So, that's marketing and the business. So this
Yeah.
manufacturing R&D, I only need that somebody should give me a good product, the kind of product which I should be able to, create a benchmark in the industry. So
So
that is the reason, when I said that why you are focusing only on STEM, because when we were discussing, when we specifically talk about cardiology, so stent is just one implant. There are 3 more implants. I didn't mean that ortho and other, but I mean that, when you're focusing on cardiology, why only stent? Now stent, a lot of people, there are more than 50 players, they are manufacturing stents, but it could be a pacemaker, it could be another thing, another implant. So the plethora of technologies available. There are a lot of high-end technologies which are required for the treatment, but at the same time, because of the lack of resources, we are not able to, or the capabilities, we are not able to manufacture here in India. We are, importing it from outside. So maybe some R&D on that.
I think Richa, what you made the point is very important, and I completely agree on what you're saying. And so let me just respond to what you said, that it should also include the short-term programs. Richa, the scheme has two components. Component A, which is focused on the PG programs, which would be PG diploma or MTech or MSc. And the component B always focuses only on the short-term programs, which are either a certificate program or diploma programs. Okay. These two programs in the component B can also have the short-term programs for upskilling side. You know, the list that you are able to see on the screen is the current approved programs specifically designed for medical device segment as a short-term certificate courses, okay, which are currently available. But this is not the exhaustive list because this might not be able to meet your current need that you have. So there could be more programs that you can suggest which can come to give the need of the industry. And that's where we are saying. The third part that you said, why only instance when we talk about cardiovascular implants, there will be a couple of more pacemakers, there will be a couple of other things that should be there. This is the time where you probably need to list them. You need to talk it out so that the institutions are able to hear and their focus becomes broader. Stunt becomes one only piece out of the entire list. So this is what we are asking you to please say.
Stent is important. I mean, definitely.
Over to both of you.
no, Anshul, I agree with Richard's point. But from an implant perspective, again, there are varied kind of implants which are inside the body, right? And when you're developing the program, it's important to focus on the overall implant category because again, once these courses are designed, so it should not be that they are specific, kind of serving a specific category of, right? There has to be a holistic perspective. Uh, again, but that's one. Second, again, it would again depend, as I mentioned yesterday, that so there's unskilled workers, semi-skilled or skilled workers, right? Different kind of depending on the functions and variability where we look at. For an R&D or again, I'll have to go back to my TA and HR team and industrial relations team to get more clarity on this. But primarily, I think from an R&D and innovation perspective, MTech or PhD is areas where we should focus on primarily because those breakthrough, groundbreaking, innovative solution technologies would come from specifically from that group of HR personnel. From a manufacturing perspective, I think a PG diploma or a undergraduate course would suffice that requirement from a manufacturing perspective. And again, short-term courses to look at certain skill gaps. For example, if there are 6 skills which have been highlighted, the person is engrossed with 5 skills or say 4 skills, there are a couple of skills which need to be added on. So they have to be those short-term courses as well to suffice that specific skill gap. So it has to be kind of in evolving. Of course, I think this whole scheme would also evolve based on the experiences and things which we learn once this scheme is actually used, right? But I think initially we should have that flexibility. But I can again come back to you with much more detailed kind of specific thoughts on.
Yeah, so Mayank, I completely agree, and that flexibility is right there. So that's number one. Number two, so what I get it, and probably all the fellow academicians are hearing it very clearly, that what industry feels is a MTech or MSc program is something that should focus on the research side of it because the innovation research part and various components of that, you know. While a PG diploma should be good when it comes to the manufacturing or the quality, because there also we would need the high-end, technically equipped people from various design aspects to it, manufacturing aspects to it, technology aspects to it, as well as even the quality testing part.
And even operational efficiency, because a lot of times we look at how we can improve the operational efficiency at the plant to increase the utilization of the plant, right? For example, if your plant is say currently manufacturing 5 lakh units, how do you want to scale up at 7 or 8 lakh units within that existing infrastructure? So operational efficiency or excellence, I think that's another area of the manufacturing side which can be looked at.
Wonderful. I believe now, let me take name and ask institutions to come up, so we have MNN ITA person coming. We have Professor Shubhni and her team from Nipper Library. Why don't you please seek your clarity and your questions if you have any from this?
Very good morning. Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, Dr. Seema, you are audible.
Yeah, I'm from MNNIT Allahabad. So we are an engineering institutes, and the research presently is ongoing on various aspects in different departments. I personally am engaged in diagnostics, but there is a department that is working in biomedical engineering also. So we presently have MTech programs running in that. But again, if we want to improvise those programs, MTech programs, as per the needs of the industry, we have to redesign the curriculum in line with the NEP as well as the constraints that are there from the institute, because we have our own module in which we have to fit in. So while designing these curriculum, how can industry persons be involved there, and how can we approach those industry persons who can give their best inputs to design the curriculum for the R&D?
So, Seemaji, one part probably I would like to put up is number one, when you're talking about the revision of the curriculum, some of the inputs, I believe my colleagues from Health and MedTech and Polymed, Mayank and Richa have already spoken about. Okay, so certainly you would have got some kind of directional inputs. Further to it, if you can share a basic proposal that this is what you are trying to do and this is where you are seeking the inputs from industry. You know, the team of project management from Department of Pharma, led by me and my colleague Neha as well as Snehil, they're here. So you can write to them. They will connect you to the right industries because then we can help you connecting to the industries at the right stage where you are designing and redesigning the program. And then it can lead to the a kind of output which will be meeting to the industry need. It will be meeting to the overall perspective, and probably output would be better than what it used to be before. But
And
right
yeah.
but right now is an opportunity for you to ask questions on the areas where you have already felt that there is a problem.
Okay. So that was a general question I'm asking on behalf of NIT, because I am in diagnostics. I would be specifically asking the questions in that session. Very specific question. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have someone from Naipa Raebareli?
Yeah. Yeah. Very good morning to all. Yeah, Mr. Anshul, am I audible?
You are audible, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good morning to all. Just my one query is, will the fund be allocated when our project will be selected, or afterward we will be getting the fund for this?
Rahul Shuklaji, yesterday you were there in that. So frankly, first thing first, there need to be a program which is meeting to the industry need. There's a program which is curated well, and that program will be submitted to the steering committee. So once that program is submitted to the steering committee, then the steering committee certainly will give a look. And if it is already a good program designed after a well-thought discussion and deliberation with industry, I feel no reason why it should not get approved. But certainly we cannot commit that if your program is there, you will certainly get an approval. The program design, development is something which only will lead to a possibility of approval of that program under the funded scheme. Okay. The webinar today is so that you are able to talk and ask industries directly that what do they need in that particular program. Today, frankly speaking, we don't even know whether Naipa Library is coming with an MTech program or it's coming with a PG diploma program. So it will be difficult for us to even guide you. So I believe it will be important for you to tell your thoughts first, and then we'll be able to guide.
Okay, we are like interested in MTech program, then yeah.
So what kind of MTech program that you're trying to develop? Basis that probably Mayank and Richa can give you some inputs.
Yeah, like we are interested in implants. That's why we are interested to, like, if we have an implant related with this. So is the fund will be like allocated after the selection, or when we will be running, then after we will be getting the fund. So little bit query is there. If you can clarify, it will be better. Yeah.
So again, I tried responding to it. Again, I tried responding to it. I'm again responding. You will develop a program. That is the first thing. That program will be submitted as a new program from NIPER Raebareli to PMA for possibility of fund approval for that. That will happen within August month. You should have very clear layout plan of implementation, that how that program will be implemented. Basis your deliberation to the steering committee, it may get approved. If it is approved, you will get fund for for your for infrastructure building. If you do not have the infrastructure, you will also have fund from government for the salary, wages, and consumables. This fund will come as and when you will submit the request that now I need fund for infrastructure, it will be given that. There will be a quarterly payout for the salary and wages. That is how the fund will come. So, Rahulji, would you like to ask, so because you have not asked in your thing, would you like to ask industry experts that what kind of infrastructure, when you are talking about a plant, would be needed in the institute? Because nobody had taken up that. And sometimes when we deliver the
really a good question. We can ask with the industry people regarding the, I think leaders are there, Captain. So what are the infrastructure they are looking for from us when we are developing a course in an implant? Yeah.
I think from a testing perspective, Anshul, I think the basic challenge is in India currently there's not even a single biomechanical testing lab in the country. And that's a basic premise for testing any implant. Even for us as manufacturers, we have to get our products tested outside the country. So that becomes a challenge. So I think biomechanical testing lab is what the other one is an animal testing lab. I think to start with, I think these are the two testing basic infrastructures which are required for any plant or R&D.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, man.
So on the one is the biomedical testing lab. Second is, even when we are talking about the product prototyping, would the 3D engineering lab and even the the artificial organs or any other thing that you are looking at in terms of the laboratory aspects when we are talking about the development of it, as well as when Richa spoke about the data science and the data analytics part of it. So do you expect the big data laboratory also to be part of that entire setup? Just loud thoughts.
Okay. I think a 3D printer would also be a basic requirement for designing any plant, right? I think a 3D printer in an R&D setup for I think that's a basic requirement which we have. Even in our R&D center for implants, we have a 3D design machine.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, a lot of research centers, they are now shifting on it. Not just the research centers, but hospitals, they are also procuring it. So it will make a lot of sense.
So if I can come in, this is Shubhini Saraf from NIPER Raebareli. And I'd just like to share my thoughts on the matter as well. So what I have in mind is that we will have to have additive manufacturing. We will also have to have subtractive manufacturing, where we have a bigger block and we subtract out the shape that is required. So this often happens in dental implants. So depending upon what is, like, there are these three things that you all had talked about earlier. So implants can be orthopedic, they could be dental, or they could be stents, types like that. What we are talking mostly about, what we would be interested in as NIPER Raebareli is drug-eluting stents or even implants which have drug in them. So that is because we are a pharmaceutical organization. So our expertise is in that. So we would definitely have labs where release rate of the drugs from such devices is done. That is what also what we are looking at. Naturally, the biomechanical testing part, very valid point. and stability, shelf life. These are the things that we are looking at. So majorly additive and subtractive manufacturing labs and evaluation of these. This is what we have in mind. If there's anything else that the industry would like to advise us upon, most welcome. So any inputs from industry side?
Mayank and Richa, any other input? Because this is what you need to look at is giving the input that currently when you are getting the researchers in your organization, what are the major gap areas in terms of their skill set, their hands-on skill, which is missing? And the institutions are already being told that yesterday Mayank was there on the panel and it was very clearly said that they should have the hands-on. So one part, I think Dr. Saab has just talked about that in addition to the 3D printing biomedical testing lab, as well as the subtractive manufacturing lab. These are the three laboratories they are already looking into it to establish, to run that MTech program, specifically for implants. Richa and Mayank, do you also suggest something else you can think as of now, or if there is any other suggestion, even after you go back and talk to your R&D heads and get their inputs, you can always come back to that. So you can probably share your thoughts.
Sure, I'll talk to my quality and my R&D team internally. Professor Shumi, thank you for your inputs. I think this is helpful. And we will come back with the necessary kind of additional requirements, if any, because ma'am already recognized the fact of a biomechanical testing lab for any implant. I think that's a basic necessity, right? So, of course, with additional inputs, we'll definitely come back to you. And from a skill gap perspective, from an R&D perspective, Anshul, the HR which we have hired in the R&D centers, again, we have not seen a huge differentiation on the R&D front. But again, making them industry ready at times takes, and that's for a part of any job, right? You hire someone to spend 6 months training them, upskilling them, because again, that hands-on experience is missing, right? So that's all part of the process. But how we can kind of address that issue in this particular scheme or the courses which we are designing, I think that's another point which we can come back to with the additional inputs on that part.
Sure, most welcome. We would appreciate that.
And Dr. Shubhini,
Yes.
just one point which probably I'm taking cues from what both Mayank and Richa spoke before is about importance when they are talking about implants, importance of material sciences.
Yes.
Though we really agree that NIPERs are focused on pharma and they are now trying to be aligned with medical devices sector, but still would like to work on the drug-eluting side. But it is also important that all those MTech people who are coming in, they should be probably more exposed on the metallurgy and the material science part, because that is something which is very important. And the the biocompatibility of that material. Okay. The biggest, I was talking to some of the industrialists before, even Medtronics and Stryker, the global projects which are right now working after EU has recently changed their MDR guideline.
Okay.
And they have revised the permissible limit of the heavy metals and even the coating of some kind of substance in the sterns and other implants. Okay.
Yes.
That is becoming one of the major challenge for industry, because industry has developed this product long back. It is very sellable product, already is doing it, but it has more than the prescribed limit as the current revised prescribed limits from the regulators. Now, there is a search which is going on about what could be the alternate material, and there the innovation probably plays a role, that these researchers, these people will certainly need to identify that which material alternatively they can use and from where they can source, which will probably meet to the revised regulatory guideline. And this is going to be very often. We are just seeing the EU, and I believe many other continents will get into it. We are seeing, yesterday we were there in the conference with the industrialists and all the academias, and your team was also there. It was very clearly coming out, and even Secretary Farm also made it very clear that as industry is moving, as the sector is growing and sector is evolving. Every time the regulatory is also coming up with certain changes. Even the sector is being posed with a lot of challenges, and the future workforce in the innovation certainly will have this aspect to be looked up very carefully. So the metallurgy part, the biomedical sciences तो ठीक है, लेकिन biomaterial and the material, knowing the different materials is very important.
Oh yes,
If
that's
you can have
definitely
a lab, if you can have a lab and set up only on that, the material sciences, it will be a wonderful thing. I think it should solve. What do
Yeah.
you say, Mayank and Richa?
So definitely, I feel we do need these advanced biomaterials, and we have to come up with newer material, and especially polymer science is evolving all the time because of these applications that we have. So that is an integral part. And as you rightly said, that EU has its own set of norms. I think India should come up with their parallel set of norms, and the credibility of that regulatory aspect that we have should be equivalent or better than EU. So we should not be borrowing from them all the time. We should have our own regulatory norms, and they should be at par. And whatever we mark, like what that EU mark is, whatever we mark should have that same kind of acceptance worldwide. So all these things will evolve naturally the way that the scheme is evolving, and it will be an integral part. So regulatory aspect will have to go hand in hand for every single thing that we are doing. So like you rightly pointed out, for biomaterials, of course, it will be there and it has to be there. And when we talk about additive manufacturing and subtractive manufacturing as well, what is it? What are the limits that can be there even from the material that gets eluted, etc.? There are so many of these small little things that what is that content, and how much is allowed, how much is permissible, how much is toxic, especially when it comes to metals. So all this is an integral part of the curriculum, and perfectly valid points that you raised. Over to you.
Actually, just one point, Achal, on the regulatory front. I think it's very important that we look at harmonization rather than kind of creating separate parallel regulatory norms, right? As an industry, very, very clear. If there's harmonization of the regulatory norms in the country, our acceptance or the acceptance of our products globally would be much faster in terms of getting regulatory approval. So rather than duplicating, I think it's harmonized, because there are forums like IMDR where most of the developed economies and certain developed markets are a member of. So that's the forum where you kind of harmonize or synergize all regulatory norms, right, and requirements. We have been telling the government that India should be a member of IMDRF so that the harmonization and acceptance of our products is much higher. And that would also help streamline because again, the point which you mentioned was understanding of the regulatory norm, global regulatory norm should be part of the course curriculum. I think which is coming out in some kind of program as well. That would address all the, so if that basic understanding is there, so if there is any incremental change in the regulatory norm, it's much faster to or adopt to those changes rather than a person who's actually experiencing it for the first time. So that basic understanding of the global regulatory norms is much better, and it's much easier. The norms, if Indian norms are also harmonized with those global, I'm not saying specific to a country, but with India, for example, which is a forum of different countries coming together.
Oh, well said, Mayank. I think that's something which I was about to cover up, because that is another skill gap which was very clearly laid out by industry in the last couple of conversations, that whatever program that we are developing at the MTech level, the program should have the integral part of global quality framework and a global regulatory framework. Okay. Certainly, when we are talking about global quality framework and global regulatory framework, India regulation certainly comes as part of it. But because industry will not establish separately for export, and only these products which are being right now sold in India, when they are benchmarked globally, they have the commonality across. So they will only go for export. So it is important that the people who are developing this at the R&D, and they are trying to improve the product, if they know from the beginning that what things had to happen is important. And the last but not the least, which normally get unheard of, is the ethical practice. The importance of ethics committee, the clinical investigations, the humanity side of it needs to be looked up, because what we are doing in the spectrum of researching and developing a product, this product is being gonna be used for a human, and the ethics play a major role. And specifically for a research team who also needs to look at that, what material I'm using, does it has any risk, you know, for the humankind? Does it has a toxicology, and what toxicity limit I should be limiting myself to? So those are the smaller points which should also be, taught as a subject, and these will be probably more of, I believe, rather than a subject, this should be a habit forming exercises embedded throughout the 2-year program, so that it becomes as a culture. That is what probably industry looks up. And I hope all the audiences from the academia side, when they're hearing it, they probably get it very right and the curriculum comes up great. Any more question from anybody from the academia? I will be more than happy. I believe we have Mohammad Arif Khan joined very recently. Any other person who would like to seek any clarity from the industry? Other than NIPER and NIT Allahabad has already spoken.
Okay, so myself, Arindam Bid from NIT Raipur. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, Arindam.
Okay. So I have a question, like when we are talking about the implants, particularly say the stent, the drug-eluting stent. So there are some drug-eluting stents. They are also coming under the critical care devices. So how you are going to say categorize them? Whether we will be categorize them explicitly for the artificial organ or in the critical care devices as well?
No, Arindam, so let me answer that question. So, DOP has categorized in the recently held, which he mentioned yesterday as well. There was a stackathon, where medical Meditech stackathon, which DOP had organized, where they have categorized, divided 8 medical devices into 8 categories, and all those 8 categories have certain medical devices. So, DES, drug-eluting stents or coronary stents are part of the implant category. So, they would be considered under the implant category, not under the critical care devices. So, that bifurcation would be based on the Meditech stack. Khushbu, you're there. Can you kind of just reconfirm?
Okay, and in that case, you had talked about the material aspect of the implant, particularly the implants like the stent, then say the artificial heart valves. So in those cases, the implants, they have means at in vivo conditions, they are being exposed to rigorous, say, shear forces under the fluidic conditions. So are you expecting any kind of, say, testing modalities to be developed by the academia to, say, simulate the in vivo conditions, say when you are fixing a stent and it will be undergoing through the, say, the shear forces due to the flow of the blood at multiple locations, say location specific stent. So in those cases, are you want to restrict the study or the, say, quality control evaluation of the stent only to its material aspect, or to its even to its designing aspect as well?
Sorry, I won't be the right person to answer that question. Richa, you want to take that up if possible?
Yes, I am asking that the material aspect of this implant, they have been say pointed out over here to have the laboratory. Now, other than the material aspect, like the designing aspect, like uh, Professor Shubhni from Rivalry Sniper, she told that okay, so we can go for say 3D printing or a say subtracting manufacturing. But yes, when you are going uh, by an approach of 3D printing or subtracting manufacturing, the material property is going to vary, isn't it? The mechanical property of the material is going to vary depending on the type of manufacturing process you are adopting. So, will you be going looking for, means the industry people, they're looking for some kind of facility from the academics to work more into that, or to look more into that quality aspect of the implant?
See, currently, if particularly for stent, we have 3 to 4 type of material platform, which we call first stent, right? Which includes stainless steel, cobalt, chromium, and these are the proven platforms. And there's a lot of scientific evidence and data also on that, because eventually it's a foreign body. So what happens that, I don't know that whether we have to do in fact, I don't think so that we don't have to put our brain that much on changing the material per se. Only I'm talking only for stent, but another thing which you have just highlighted is the design. So see, when any stent is available in the market, or be it the established one or a new one, it is important there has to be a clinical evidence. Then, and there has to be a data which is proven, because eventually it will be in the human body, and they are the class 3 medical devices. So it is very much important. So that's the reason that, from the designing perspective, from the, improving the maybe the strut thickness and all other mechanical properties, these are the things which are important. I don't think so that, we have to, especially again, I'm saying especially for stent, we don't have to think that much for material, that which material we should be using.
Yes, Miss. Actually, we had encountered some of the cases with our say foreign collaboration, where the stent which has been developed by some designer. Okay, those stent, it had been found to dislocate from that particular location.
So I
Okay.
got your point. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you in between. I just want to add one more thing that, when we are talking about material, especially for stent, it is important that, there has to be, because stent is known as a scaffold. So the radial strength is very much important. So what you're saying that, there was a dislodgement, we call it a dislodgement, that stent has been implanted and then it has dislodged. So it is very much important that the stent or that material should be having that properties, where it should be giving a proper strength or radial strength to a stent, not just dislodgement. There's another thing also that, that material has to be radio opaque in nature. That's the second thing. And third, there should not be a breakage of stent, because stent is crimped on a balloon. So when doctor is inflating a stent, it should not be that soft or low profile, that it not just slippage, which is a dislodgement. One also has to protect that there should not be a breakage of the stent. Okay, when we are inflating it and suddenly we see that it got breaked inside the artery. So, but design is very much important.
Just adding up what Richa was saying, Arindam, for you is, look, every product, I'm very specific, not stunt, but even I'm talking about any implant or any other product that we are developing. Okay. This product is approved based on certain testing, certain threshold testing, certain performance testing, electromagnetic testing and all that, which is very clearly listed. Some of the products that we are talking about is where the you can probably get the list of the tests which are performed on various products. Okay. I would also request Richa to even tell you, other than the stents for the cardiovascular side, what are even other implants? Hello.
Yes, you are audible now.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, it is important. The answer to your question is, there will be number of performance tests, there will be number of safety tests, there will be number of radiation tests, there will be number of integrity tests, there will be number of fatigue tests that are required for every product which are being developed.
Yes.
And the researcher should know about it.
So that is what I'm asking, means so whether we need to develop this kind of laboratory setup where we can say do the fatigue testing or the type of testings which you have just mentioned. So may not be the whole list, but maybe some of the testing facility as a state of art infrastructure in the say through this program, which the industry will be looking for to test their medical devices or implants to our facilities.
Look, I certainly can't say this, whether the industry will be open to come forward to have that. But what I intend to put up is at least have the laboratories in a simulation where you are able to make your people hands-on experienced. Okay. Even, and let me put one point to everyone, all the academic institutions.
Sir, you're not audible. I should say you're not audible.
Hope I'm audible now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that it is also not always to have all the facilities in-house. You can collaborate with some of the testing laboratories to get the exposure and make it clear in your curriculum that for this, you are partnering to X and Y institutions.
Okay, yes, yes. Okay.
So, do we have any more questions? Dr. Migya?
I don't have any question.
Okay. So probably if there is no question, no other query from the participants, then I think what we would try to do is we'll try to conclude this session for now. As Mayank and Richa suggested, we will also write to all the industries to seek their guidance after having an internal consultation to their teams. And we will also communicate these guideline points to all the institutions. So we will certainly continue to be your hand-holding partner into it. Okay. And we'll give you all the best resources, best information available so that your programs comes out to be great. Other than that, also, if any institution would like to have a one-on-one consultation, you have numbers of our team, you can always reach us out. Then with this, I certainly would like to thank Richa. I would like to thank Mayank for the time. You have been really great support, and your commitment from the industry looks bounds to be, really well deserved appreciation. Thank you for your contribution. We look forward to having a continuing dialogue with you all and seeing that through the scheme, we are able to meet some of your needs with respect to the human resource demand. I would request both of you to please consult internally because we could not discuss on the component B with the short-term programs, but that is also something which is available. So if you can come up with some of the short-term needs that you're currently seeing for your current people, that's number one, as well as any program that you suggest should be included as a new program, for the engineering students, the BTech students, as well as Polytechnic and ITI students and DPharm students. We will be more than happy to, get that aligned, and all the institutions should be aligned to that.
Sure.
Yeah. So with this, thank you. If you who do not, and nobody has any further questions, we would like to conclude the session with big thanks and really
Thank you, everyone.
appreciate your
Have a
effort.
good day.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.